Hello, Scruffy Politics here. Steve here in the Chicago area. Stimpy out there in Michigan. We will be talking about how Trump's lawyer, Alina Habba, okay, she was on Fox News the other night, and it was on Sean Hannity, and she criticized AOC for being a bartender in the past, working an honest job. She made a comment something like, what AOC needs to understand was she wasn't there ordering a drink, she was there serving a drink. What's wrong with having an honest job? AOC worked her ass off to get to where she is right now. Yeah, she's very left wing. I don't agree with her on everything. I think she's way too far to the left, but she grew up as an immigrant. She scrubbed toilets with her mother. Her father died when she was 17 years old, I think, from cancer. And then and she worked her way up, and she graduated from a really nice college. Was it Boston College, I think?
Yep.
And but then what does not help with supporting MAGAs and is when you have these MAGA people like Trump's lawyer Alina Habba and people like Trump who look down on anyone who is a service worker or anyone who's not a millionaire or and yeah, she's talking about AOC, but she's also talking about plenty of you. Okay, she probably laughs at plenty of us behind our backs. Okay, she could probably be nice to you up to your face, but when you turn around, she'll probably be like, oh, that peasant. And that is exactly how the Trump movement is. They don't care about workers. They don't. They could care less about you. Okay, so I think it's just ironic and funny that so many people who voted for Trump, Trump and Haba and Marjorie Taylor Greene and many MAGAs out there laugh at them. And you're voting for people who don't give a shit about you. Okay, Brett, your take on this.
So you're talking about Sandy? You know who Sandy is?
Who's Sandy? I know quite a few Sandys.
AOC, her whole life in her community where she grew up, she was known as Sandy. Everybody called her Sandy. It wasn't until she ran for Congress that she developed, and the Democrat Party helped her build a brand because, right, they saw that she had potential, she was going to win. So you had to have something that was marketable. So thus began the enigma of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, commonly known as AOC. But where she grew up and went to college, she was Sandy. That's how everybody knew and called her. So I just find it interesting that they rebranded her into what has become a very big brand. And I find her fascinating from the perspective that she has a huge social media following. Apparently, she's the second highest Democrat as far as raising money for the party outside of Schumer. So she absolutely will be a power player. She definitely will make her way to the Senate. And I do think actually at some point they will run her for president. I think that's absolutely in the cards. And to me, she is the equal and opposite reaction of Trump. So with Trump, there was, this populist wing, if you will. And I think actually it goes all the way back to Ross Perot. If you think about it, Ross Perot was the first independent that ran and actually split the ticket with the elder Bush that allowed Clinton to win. That was the beginning of the Republican Party saying we would like to try to do something different because we're not getting results out of, what we call rhinos, but it's Republicans that didn't really want change. They liked government just the way it was. They just wanted to be in power of government. Where what you call the MAGA movement today, to me, that represents a group of people that came from the Tea Party movement. And really what they're saying is, we don't like the way government is run. We want the things that Doge is doing. We want the things that Trump is doing, like reevaluating the Department of Education. Like, hey, maybe it's better. Maybe we'll get better results at better prices if we let local people in the community handle education, as opposed to people in Washington, D.C. that are overspending. They're not connected to it. They don't know what they're doing. So you've got Trump on the one end, and he actually managed to beat the rhinos in his wing of the populism. Now, the Democrats did the same thing. That's why you saw the rise of Bernie Sanders. But if you think about it, what's ironic was what you would call the moderate Democrat Party, which was Hillary Clinton at the time, they stopped Bernie. They stopped him cold in his tracks, and they used some, nasty tactics too with, the superdelegates and, giving Hillary Clinton the questions to the debate before Bernie got to see him and all that kind of stuff. But AOC is 2.0 of that. She's going to pick up the mantle where Bernie left off, and she's going to continue on with it. And I think we'll see a lot more from her in the future. So I think that's wrong. I don't know Alina Habba that well. I didn't see that segment on TV. If she was disparaging her because she worked as a bartender, that's wrong. You should never disparage anybody for whatever work they choose to do. And I mean, I don't know her well enough to know. I don't think she's out there making fun of people for their jobs, but anyway, I don't know. There's my take.
She did. Her message was basically, if you're in the service industry, you're below and you don't deserve respect. That's the message I got. And I think that secretly, and
if she said that, I disagree.
And I think the MAGA was probably like, oh, why did she say it out loud? She's not supposed to say it out loud, but she was stupid enough to say it out loud. And when you show people who you are, believe it. Like when someone shows you who they are, believe it. Trump has showed many people who he is, and this is kind of like the example. People ignore it, and they're like, "Oh, Trump says it. Who cares that there's 25 plus women who've accused him of sexual assault or rape? Who cares that he's frauded many contractors and hasn't paid many contractors, and many small contractors went out of business and lost their job and went into debt, and who cares about the fact that he's gone bankrupt and the little guy who worked at the casinos, got the shit end of the stick while it didn't affect Trump at all." So, Trump is the kind of guy who he does not care about the little guy, and I'm not saying that the Democrats do. I don't think Chuck Schumer does. I don't think a lot of Democrats do. I think it's all for show. But Trump, it's obvious that he doesn't. I mean, he grew up when his brother Fred, the one who he died, he was a huge alcoholic. He died. So Trump and his father, I think his brother's name was Fred.
I think you're right, actually.
He and his father...
He was the oldest, so he probably was named after his dad.
And Trump's brother wanted to be a pilot. And Trump and his father would make fun of him and laugh at him for that and call him a glorified bus driver. So not only are you dissing pilots, you're dissing bus drivers and other people who drive buses and who work or who drive taxis or Uber. So that is right there. Like, anyone who drives a bus or an Uber or a taxi and you vote for Donald Trump, sorry, like, you're doing it to yourself. You're voting against your own interest, okay? Like, they don't give a shit about you. Okay.
So it's easy to put things in general terms or black and white, but it is true often there are, series of gray in between there. So you said that Trump was making fun of his brother, but yet he had a huge impact on Trump's life because Trump routinely says that he doesn't drink, has never drank. And he said it's because his brother Fred was an alcoholic and it ruined his life and resulted in an early death. And he said that Fred, when he was younger, would always tell him, "Donald, whatever you do, do not get involved in drinking or smoking." And that's why Donald Trump has never drank or smoked his entire life. I mean, according to him. And it was a big thing that he instilled in all his kids. So you also don't see any of his kids running around drinking or smoking. So you say that he was making fun of Fred.
Not publicly. Do I
True.
really believe that Don Jr. never has snorted coke? Have you seen the guy talk? Have you? I'm not saying he's
Well,
into
I'm
coke,
not gonna say because I
but
don't know the guy.
but do you really believe everything out of Trump's mouth? If he says his kids haven't done this or that, I'm sorry, Trump's a bullshitter. I don't believe anything he says. And sometimes, okay, sometimes the tweets that he tweets, you would think, okay, he was probably drunk. But if he's not drunk, then he's mentally something is very mentally wrong with him. Because those tweets, you might tweet when drunk and be like, "Oh my gosh," and even if you're drunk, you wouldn't tweet that, okay? But like, you might be like, "Holy crap!" That's like,
Well, it's
what?
very tough for
Do I
us to
really
say
believe
sitting.
Donald Trump is on this moral high ground that he's never drank? I don't think so. Okay,
Well, I
I'm
haven't
not
seen
saying
any
he's an
evidence of
alcoholic.
him drinking. There's
Yeah,
not even a photo of him drinking a beer.
yeah. Oh, well, there's plenty of photos of him at Epstein Island. Oh, sorry, just had to get that out there. Oh, and he's on the Epstein log list. Okay, which is why that FBI director, that bimbo from Florida now, oh, not FBI, Attorney General, that lady from Florida, Pam Bondi.
Oh
She's
yes.
she's afraid to release that report because Trump's name is in there and. Well, just like she does, like a good little puppy, she's listening to Trump. She's not wanting to get that report out because, or she needs to black out some names. Okay, so
Yeah.
yeah,
I got to throw this out there real quick. This is
yeah,
a little off topic, but I just find it interesting. So I don't know if you saw this. It was pretty fascinating. Debbie Dingell did a town hall here in Michigan, and it was aired live on TV. This was just like Friday afternoon. And they had people coming up and talking at the microphone with different questions and stuff. And I thought it was interesting when you talk about this Doge and people losing their job. This one lady came
yeah.
up to the mic and
Who's Debbie Dingell? Is she a congresswoman from?
yeah, she's so she's interesting for the audience if anyone doesn't know about the Dingles. The Dingle Debbie Dingle is a member of the House of Representatives from a district in Michigan. She took over after her husband John Dingle died, and John Dingle's father also had the seat. So the Dingle family has had that House of Representatives district for like 100 years.
Are they
I mean, you talk
Republican
about
or Democrat?
Democrat.
Okay.
Yeah, for seriously like 100 years, it's been their personal property. It's been in their family, and I guarantee you, what will happen is when Debbie Dingle dies, she will probably die in office like Dianne Feinstein because they will never give up that seat. They've already had it for 100 years. They'll probably have it for another 100 years. I'm sure she has a kid somewhere waiting in the wings, and then they just keep the name on the ballot. So when she passes away, probably in office, even though she won't be doing the job, her staff people will be doing it. Then her kid will run, and the name will be on the ballot, and all the Democrats will be like, "Oh, we love the Dingles. Yes, please vote them in."
Yeah.
But anyway, getting back to this lady, so she came up to the microphone, and the first thing she says is, "I've just spent the last 5 years being a caregiver for my mother who was dying of cancer," and she goes on and on and on. And then later on in the statement, she says, "Oh, and by the way, I just lost my job. I work for USAID." And I remember thinking to myself, wait a minute. So then the crowd was like, that's horrible. To hell with Elon Musk and Doge, right? They were all crazy. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. You started off saying that you were spent 5 years working as a caregiver. And I'm like, and you're in Detroit physically. How were you working for USAID? So again, it comes back to I'm like, she probably had some kind of job where she worked from home, probably didn't have to do a lot. Check just showed up in the bank account.
Yeah.
And then the Musk team comes in and realizes this lady really isn't doing anything. She's at home taking care of her mom with cancer. She's not working for the government, and she loses her job. There's probably
I mean,
lots of situations like that with the government.
yeah. That 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 I could see, but yeah. So
At that point, hey, it's fine if you want to do that. If the Democrats and the government and AOC and Schumer, if you want to do that, fine. But let's just call it a jobs program. Let's just say we're going to put people to work for things. I mean, we're not getting anything out of it, but they're getting an income and they get to live.
yeah. Well, it is coming to the end of the show. Please like, subscribe. We would definitely need subscribers. We're not very popular yet, so yeah. So but yeah. So
But we will be.
but yeah. So this was a good talk about Haba and Trump and
So tell all your
how
friends.
they look down on most workers. Which
Yes.
it's not really an opinion. I think it's a known fact, but I think it's a fact.
So
So
tell all your friends about us because we
yes,
are doing something unique in the media landscape. Most places you're only going to get the Republican opinion or you're going to get the Democrat opinion, but you don't usually get both. And a lot of the Democrat TV shows will say that they have a Republican on. Somebody like a Michael Steele, he's not a Republican, people. Okay. When you watch Face the Nation or Meet the Press, the people that they tell you they're going to have on that are Republicans, they're not Republicans. Okay. So here you're getting both sides of the story. All right. And it's about the only place that you're going to see it. Okay.
yeah.
So tell all your friends if you want to see both sides of the discussion, check out something like Scruffy Politics.
And I might appear to be a Democrat, but I'm not. It's just that the Republicans are so bad that it's right now. It's just easy to bash the Republicans.
Steve
But
does double duty. He's representing the moderate Democrat viewpoint and the independent viewpoint.
yeah,
And I am representing the MAGA, I guess, slash Republican. I don't even like to say Republican. I would say
yeah.
conservative.
But I don't think you're a MAGA cultist because you're not.
Well, again, to me,
Yeah.
MAGA just means make America great again, which I want. I want America to be a prosperous place for everybody. Republicans, independents, Democrats. I want everybody to do well in America.
But with the MAGA crowd, and I know we're supposed to be done, they don't want everyone to strive and succeed.
Well,
It's shown with how disparaging they are towards those who are less than, and it's unfortunate.
there are some people probably like that that you could label MAGA, and just like that, on the flip side, there are people that want to burn Teslas in your neighborhood.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Which I don't support burning Teslas. I do support the protesting outside it and the peaceful protesting. That I support. But yeah,
Yes.
don't key or damage any Teslas. Just don't buy
Yes.
any either. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, we'll leave it there.
Bye. See ya.
All right, thanks everybody.